For everybody joining, you're here for culture, connection, and communication, how Caribou Coffee is using Beekeeper to support its frontline managers. And for anything that you hear today with Caribou Coffee, Lindsay and Ellie will both be joining us at the Frontline Success Summit in Nashville on October 18th. So join us there and you can talk to them in person with any questions that you have from today's webinar. All right, with that, a few introductions. So we have Lindsay Bosley, Brand Communications Manager at Caribou Coffee, Ellie Schwartz, Brand Communications Specialist at Caribou Coffee, and my colleague Charlotte, Director of Customer Success, to help moderate our session today. So what are we going to talk about today? So we're going to kick it off with the cost of frontline disconnect, then look at how Beekeeper is impacting Caribou Coffee's culture, how they get 100% engagement from their frontline managers, and what the future looks like with that, ways to improve communication, and then we're going to close it all out with a live Q&A. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Charlotte to take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Logan. I've been looking forward to this webinar for some time, not only because I love Caribou Coffee, which I'm sure many in the audience today do, but also because I've learned from working with Beekeeper customers for the past 5.5 years that unlocking value for managers is key not only to Beekeeper adoption, but also long-term and strong employee engagement. Employee engagement is so important for many reasons, because challenges that come from a disengaged workforce can be huge. So let's talk through a few of those. If businesses aren't able to communicate effectively with an employee from day one throughout that employee's entire experience with the company, it's often true that what's expected of that employee is not clear, and they aren't enabled to do their job as effectively as possible. Next, employees are motivated by recognition, but many businesses do not have a strong way to recognize their employees. Employees often disengage because they might not feel valued. Lastly, disengagement means disconnect from the brand and therefore the work. Pride drives quality and vice versa. So the guest or customer experience could also be impacted. These employee engagement challenges have created a gap between business needs and the ability for teams to effectively support those needs. We call this frontline disconnect. For many companies, current practices aren't cutting it when it comes to engaging with employees, finding and retaining talent, and providing teams with the resources they need to do great work. I know that everyone here on this call can agree that frontline work is already really hard, and this disconnect only makes it harder while costing your businesses real money. According to a recent Gallup report, we learned that employees who are not engaged can cost their company an equivalent of 18% of their annual salary. In some frontline organizations, the disengagement rate is somewhere between 60 to 80%. And these numbers can add up to big, expensive problems quickly. We calculated that this disconnect could cost $430,000 per year. And this was for a company of just 100 employees. So I want all of you on this call to think about, what does this potentially mean for a business of your size? Frontline disconnect can be tough to spot because it's ingrained in the ways that many businesses operate. So let me break down some of the warning signs. If employees have a poor experience and are disengaged, oftentimes they leave. So turnover is a key sign of disconnect. Experts say that 15 to 20% is a healthy annual turnover rate, but we're hearing from many of the frontline businesses that we support that they're seeing upwards of 70 to 60%. Next, if employees are disengaged, performance will be subpar, ultimately impacting the product and customer satisfaction. This could mean loss of revenue in the long run. When there's a gap in communication and collaboration, both managers and hourly team members are likely spending too much time on daily tasks. I've heard from customers that before Beekeeper, managers would one-to-one text team members if there was a shift update, for example. Lastly, the effect of not following proper procedures can mean hefty fines or penalties. Compliance risks are not only expensive, but they can also be really scary. And this is something that we know all businesses want to avoid. I tell you all this because by understanding the cost of frontline disconnect, leaders can address underlying challenges and enable employees to deliver great work. Unfortunately, this cannot be solved overnight, but it first starts with admitting there's a problem and then putting change into action. And you guessed it, Caribou Coffee has put in a lot of work to close this disconnect. Bosley and Ellie, I will hand it over to you to tell the audience about Caribou Coffee.
Yes, thank you, Charlotte. We're so excited to be here today. And I'll get us started by telling you a little bit about our organization. So Caribou Coffee is an international premium coffee house and part of the Panera Brands company. Our company founders opened the very first Caribou Coffee in Minnesota in 1992. And our company headquarters and roastery are still located there today, as are Ellie and I. Our founders' vision was to build personal connection into the coffee house experience. And more than 30 years later, our purpose of creating day-making experiences that spark a chain reaction of good for our teams, guests, and community fuels our growth. And this purpose goes way beyond the beans. It's infused into our company culture. We believe that conversations and connections that occur over a simple cup of coffee spark authentic inspiration, impact, and change. Today, we serve guests in more than 750 coffee houses worldwide. About half of our coffee houses are located in the United States, with a concentration in the upper Midwest. But we recently announced agreements with several franchisees to open more than 300 locations across the country. However, if you don't live near a Caribou Coffee, our products are also available in all 50 states across grocery stores, mass retailers, club stores, food service providers, and online. Hopefully you've seen our products before in Target or your favorite grocery store. We've been using Beekeeper at Caribou Coffee for a little over 2 years now. So prior to 2021, we were feeling all of the things that Charlotte mentioned. The fast-paced quick service restaurant industry combined with the challenges of a pandemic made it really difficult for us to share breaking news and important information with our teams. We were often trying to pull people together for last-minute virtual meetings or relying on an inefficient phone tree. But we're happy to have found Beekeeper and have built the tool out over the past several years. Across all of our lines of business, we have about 7,000 users on Beekeeper. This includes our corporate staff, team members in our roastery and warehouse, frontline employees working in our corporate-owned coffee houses, including general managers and baristas, as well as select franchise partners. Among these groups, our most active Beekeeper users are our general managers. These are the folks who manage an individual coffee house and all of the day-to-day operations that go along with that. And we're proud to share that 100% of our general managers have activated their accounts and continue to log in on a monthly and weekly basis to the platform. Ellie and I are excited to be here to share a little bit about how we accomplished this and what's been successful for Caribou in our time working with Beekeeper. We hope you take away some ideas and inspiration in our time together.
Great. Thank you so much, Bosley. So Ellie, Bosley just told us a bit about Caribou and the culture of the company. Can you expand a bit on how Beekeeper has impacted the culture at Caribou Coffee?
Yeah, absolutely, Charlotte. So as you see on the screen, that's our purpose statement, and you really see that come to life throughout Beekeeper. So when I think about the cultural impact that Beekeeper has brought to Caribou Coffee, the first thing that springs to mind is our Spark Stories stream. So imagine having an open stream, an open forum where everyone at Caribou, from our baristas in our coffee houses to our corporate leaders at our support center headquarters, can all come together. That's what Spark Stories is. So it actually began as an event stream for our annual summer conference, BooCon, which is primarily for our general managers. And the energy within the stream was just so contagious, with everyone sharing their memorable moments. We knew we just couldn't let it fade away. So we made the choice to keep it buzzing year round and open it to all members of our Caribou Coffee team. So now we really think of Spark Stories as Caribou Coffee's living, breathing digital scrapbook. So whether it's our corporate teams, field team members, franchisees, there's really connection being brewed daily. Some of the things you might see within Spark Stories are our global franchise director giving us live updates from our international stores, maybe our coffee sourcing team sharing pictures and tales from their travels, and even our baristas in their day-to-day operations sharing our four-legged friends coming through the drive-thru for a pup cup, which is always a fan favorite of content. But our top executives are right there with everyone else. They're mingling, celebrating product launches, sharing shout outs, and diving into the fun polls and contests with the rest of us. So we like to think of Beekeeper as more than just a place to talk to our team members. It really is a two-way outlet, similar to social media platforms where you can engage and share with our teams. So that's really why it's so important to us to express our core values and culture through the platform. So one way we do this is through really easy, low barrier to entry engagement contests, such as the example shown on the screen. In this example, we are bringing back a very much loved vegan flatbread, which if you have a Caribou Coffee in the area, I highly recommend you check out. But we are celebrating the relaunch of that product, and to celebrate, we are encouraging our team members to comment and tag someone who had been a spark or day maker for them during that launch week. And in true Caribou Coffee fashion, we would now like to invite you to do the same, and there will be a surprise incentive or prize for one of you. So
yeah, we'd love to hear your sparks. So go ahead and type those in and leave them in the chat. You can think of sparks like random acts of kindness. They're just one way we live out our purpose of creating day making experiences at Caribou Coffee. There's a lot of small ways you're probably doing or experiencing this in your everyday life. For me, I can give an example. My spark this week was sending a text to my friend who recently had a baby just to check in on her and make sure that she was doing okay. So we will be giving away a $50 gift card to Caribou Coffee for a random person who leaves their spark in the chat. This gift card can be used at one of our coffee houses or online. So if you're not near one, it's still an incentive to go ahead and drop those in. It's a small but hopefully exciting prize that would be similar to what we would use to engage and incentivize our team members to be active on Beekeeper. So we've got a few coming in. There's a really great one here. My daughter gave me the biggest hug for no reason other than it was just a joy to see me when I woke up this morning. We love that. We know that that small spark can then go on, and snowball into other great, things that have happened, kind of creating that chain reaction of good. Awesome. Somebody said helping a family member with a new project that they're starting at work. This is great. This is sparking a lot of joy for me today as well. So continue putting those in the chat. And again, we'll select a random winner for that $50 gift card. So as you're doing that, I just want to talk on how else we use Beekeeper to connect. Besides connecting our field staff with one another and hearing their sparks, Beekeeper has also connected our corporate staff with the field. They all have Beekeeper accounts and actively engage in our streams. But we also make the effort to show them our content regularly. So we use the slideshows function to display a rolling set of posts and images as we wait for people to join all company meetings. This connection we found really helps our corporate staff see the impact of their work, especially if they aren't in our stores directly or working with our field staff often.
Thank you, Bosley. The culture at Caribou is truly contagious, I think, as we're all experiencing and seeing now in the chat, which is wonderful. Please keep sharing. I love the Spark Stories concept for so many reasons. It connects employee to the brand, builds that connection. It brings your leaders closer to the front line. And with the flatbread example, it gives you the opportunity to build that connection while also educating members about the products. So it's really a two-in-one. So I know Caribou has franchise partners as well. How do you also make sure that franchise partners feel part of this culture?
Yeah, so we started our franchise journey with Beekeeper last year, and we intentionally invited select people to join the platform so that they could get ingrained in our culture and also find out those important updates they need. To make sure that they really had the best experience, we carefully structured things so that each franchise partner had their own special set of accounts. They got some for their corporate teams and then a few for their leaders at each store. But before we let them in on all the fun, we had to make sure that our permissions were just right so nobody got overwhelmed. Plus, we worked on our content and stream strategy to make sure that our franchisees only saw the stuff that mattered to them. We've seen this be really valuable when the franchisee is the first store in a specific region or state. It's, again, another way to connect them to our culture without being close by. So one story I have is that we recently had a franchise store manager visiting corporate headquarters for training. And at the end of a couple of weeks, she was going back to her store and would be the only Caribou Coffee leader in the state. I spoke with her and she was worried about being alone. And then I reminded her about Beekeeper. She then connected with her training team through Beekeeper and they continued their group chat whenever she needed advice or support. So we're, again, all about keeping our Caribou family close no matter where they are. And this was just a little bit of unintentional motivation to get that manager engaged, but we also work through kind of specific incentives that we'll talk about next.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. I'm so glad that that individual store owner was able to connect and use Beekeeper as a way to do that. That's great to hear. So we've heard how Caribou continues to build its vibrant culture through Beekeeper. Can you tell us other ways that you are currently driving engagement through the platform?
Yeah, Charlotte, sometimes it's hard to combat the issue of people not wanting to download yet another app to their device. But when it comes to Beekeeper, we like to think of our approach as one of encouragement and incentive rather than requirement. So instead of Beekeeper being just another app, we like to think of it as the app for Caribou Coffee. So giveaways, contests, enticing prizes, these aren't just gimmicks. They're our way of saying, you know, the platform's warm, come on in. And it's working. We see an activation rate of about 73% across all of our employees. And that's a substantial number. That's almost 3/4, but we don't stop there. Our frontline managers are really the bread and butter. They're 100% activated on the platform and are really our champions on the ground, ensuring that every team member feels connected and informed. Another way we like to boost engagement, we talk about a golden ticket. So this is a thing that we use on Beekeeper, where Beekeepers are a place for exclusive insider information for Caribou Coffee team members that you can't get anywhere else. So at events like BooCon, we introduce new features firsthand as well, and that has been helpful as well.
Can you tell us a bit?
BooCon, yeah, like I mentioned before, it's our annual summer conference for general managers, and we organically boost engagement by assigning tasks or offering opportunities on Beekeeper that you can't accomplish anywhere else. So for example, if you need to register for BooCon, you'll need to fill out a form on Beekeeper. If you want to share those fun photo booth images, you can post them in Spark Stories. But let's take a look at the numbers. Before BooCon, we asked our frontline managers about their comfort level with Beekeeper. The stats were good. We had about 57% who were already very comfortable using the platform. But post BooCon, after we met in person, shared insight with our leaders, answered questions, that number jumped to 70%, which was a 13% increase in just the span of a 3-day event. So even though Beekeeper is an app, it's virtual, that in-person connection can be really helpful, especially in the onboarding stages. And another neat trick up our sleeve this year is our annual holiday gift initiative. So this year, we're asking our team members to provide their sizing details within a Beekeeper form for this year's holiday gift. It's super simple, but it's already proven to be very effective. We're just a week into the initiative, and we've already seen a 6% increase in user activation. So you can drive people to Beekeeper and just put things on Beekeeper that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, like Ellie mentioned, it's great to get engagement at in-person events, but we also use tactics to show up where people are virtually. So similar to the slideshows I mentioned before, where we're streaming content at all company meetings, we also show up in people's inboxes, and we use the newsletter feature within Beekeeper to do that. So even if somebody hasn't ever opened the app, they'll see their content or see the content in their work email box. We send weekly recaps to our store managers and bi-weekly newsletters to our corporate staff. What's really fun is we'll see a spike in engagement right after we're sending those newsletters. On Tuesdays and Fridays, the new comments and the likes start rolling in, and we know it's always a great day to go in and hear about some more sparks and happy moments. So we'll share several in-app features that we use to boost platform engagement as well.
Yeah, so one of the ways we really drive our team members to Beekeeper is helping eliminate other apps like WhatsApp, GroupMe, or even just having an overwhelming amount of text message group chats on their phones. With Beekeeper, it's all there in one space. And what I found most impactful is how Beekeeper helps bridge the gap between our team members. So whether it's a barista, a store manager, or even our executives, everyone's just a chat away, whether you have their personal phone number or not. So if you've ever found yourself scrambling to find a coworker's phone number when you need a shift covered, our team members are consistently praising Beekeeper's chat function, which is the go-to method for coordinating and swapping shifts hassle-free. And also the beauty of having Beekeeper on your phone, it ensures our leaders are always in the know, looped in, whether they're at the coffee house, on the road, or at home. Another really big feature that our teams appreciate is the shortcuts function. So direct from Beekeeper, shortcuts contain customized shortcuts to any relevant websites or documents, empowering your colleagues by providing them with continuous access to the most important tools they need, all in one place. You can also customize these links to a particular department or group of coworkers by restricting access to individual sections of shortcuts. And we actually did some analysis on this, and within the first half of the year, we registered over 36,000 clicks through the feature. And a massive chunk of these, well over half, were directly to our shift scheduling platform. So we presume that our team members are coordinating shift changes within the chat function of Beekeeper, and then navigating to shortcuts and then our native shift scheduler to then make those changes. But that's not all we have in our shortcuts. We also have a link to our training site, benefits information, and our exclusive Boo Gear e-store where employees can buy employee-only merchandise. And they're all just a click away in one place.
Thank you, Bosley and Ellie, for sharing. Just like overcoming the challenges that we talked about at the beginning doesn't happen overnight. Change definitely doesn't happen overnight either. And it's so important to find these events and, as you mentioned, that exclusive content as your golden tickets to drive that behavior change. So really well done on that. So as I also shared earlier, communication is a key piece in closing the frontline disconnect. What is Caribou doing to improve communication?
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak on this topic. As you saw in our introductions, Ellie and I both sit in very specific communication roles. So when it comes to it, this is kind of our expertise. And we've been talking about a lot of things we've been doing over the last 2 years. We've been building processes and procedures and encompassing all of these different tools into our Beekeeper strategy. But we always kind of keep the fundamentals of communications in our back pocket. One tool, though, that really has made this communication process through Beekeeper as smooth as one of our iced lattes, as I like to say, has been using an intake form for ad hoc requests or broadcast announcements for other team members or departments. That way we can gather all the information needed for an engaging and informative post without having to go back and forth too many times with that subject matter expert, saving both us and them time. Of course, we've refined that form over the last few years, knowing we need different information as we build out new streams and new channels of communication. So that's a tip too, is just to continue to go back to it. But in addition to these kind of ad hoc or last minute requests, we also have a drumbeat of regular communication built out to supplement kind of this unpredictability. So for example, we do a monthly post welcoming new hires. We do a quarterly recap of our referral bonuses. So that way, every time somebody's coming onto the app, they'll see something new and engaging, whether it's a helpful announcement or some of our regularly scheduled programming. And for both of those types of content, though, we try to follow some communications best practices. And not to throw more C words at you all, but we have 4 C's for crafting posts. Those are consistency, clarity, conciseness, and creative. So under consistency, again, that's all about keeping a regular rhythm with our posts. We rely on a content calendar that we build out in advance. And then, it's the heartbeat of our content and make sure we keep the good stuff flowing on a steady cadence. And then we have clarity, which is all about making our content crystal clear. We're talking about a 7th or 8th grade reading level for all of our text, which means no jargon, no head scratching, just really simple, easy to understand words. As our frontline managers are focusing on so many different aspects of the business, this is key for them to quickly read something, understand it, and then process it for their day. We also have conciseness. So I like to think of this as the Marie Kondo makeover for your posts. We're constantly decluttering, editing, removing the fluff, and getting straight to the important details. Less blah, blah, but just more kind of wow and factual details. And then last but certainly not least is the creative. We are all about on-brand graphics that are also visually appealing so that you can't help but just stop and stare at the beauty of Beekeeper. We work closely with our creative team to make sure our Beekeeper content looks as great as like our social media or our public facing website. Furthermore, we use branded templates, which are kind of like magic wands for content creation. We share these with our admins outside of the branded communications team, for example, our new store openings account, so that they can add their unique voice to the content mix while also properly representing our brand. But beyond mass communication, we send from kind of our corporate accounts, our Caribou Coffee account. We know there's a lot of informal communication happening on Beekeeper. And Ellie's going to show about how we foster those conversations as well.
Yeah, so like Bosley said, Beekeeper is undoubtedly our powerhouse for major corporate communications, but it's also a venue for smaller conversations among our store teams. We think of it as having 2 different gears, mass communication for our broad reaching updates, and then micro communication where the magic of those personalized interactions are happening on the platform between our store teams. Within Beekeeper at Caribou Coffee, we've got a few different hubs for group conversations among our teams. Aside from the store team group chats, each of our stores and districts also have their own streams where they can engage, share, and connect. Something I absolutely love is seeing our frontline managers taking a corporate message from one of our broader streams and then resharing it in their own store stream, adding specific details or reminders that are pertinent to their team members. And again, speaking about our frontline managers, I can't stress their importance enough. That 100% activation rate that we boast is so crucial, especially as we continue to get more team members engaged on the platform. But in the meantime, those general managers really help bridge the gap by sharing our corporate communications with our on-the-ground team members who might not be on the platform yet. So taking that information from Beekeeper, sharing it firsthand in team meetings and in-person venues. But like I said earlier, Beekeeper isn't just a place for broadcasting communication. It really is a venue to foster conversations through dialogue and a sense of community that spans right from our corporate headquarters and boardroom right to every coffee house.
Thank you, Ellie. This combination of all company content, but also the store-specific information is critical to a well-rounded communication plan. And that's what we tell our customers all the time. So it's really neat to see how Caribou puts that into action. It's also no small feat that you've reached 100% manager activation. So round of applause for that. That's incredible. Ellie and Bosley, you've shared so much valuable information, and I will do my absolute best to quickly sum it up. Everyone in the audience, if you want to be like Caribou and you want that 100% manager activation, top-notch company culture, and you want to just improve your communication overall throughout your business, be sure to first amplify your core values to your entire team. This, among other things, will no doubt create connection between different levels of your organization. And as we all experience today, who doesn't love to win something fun or just win anything at all, right? Launch those giveaways and contests and have a good time with it. And lastly, but certainly not least, when creating your posts, don't forget those 4 C's: consistency, clarity, conciseness, creative. All right, Logan, I've seen a ton of activity and questions coming in. What Q&A do we have for Bosley and Ellie here?
So, yes, we have a lot of questions. But first, I do want to announce our Spark Stories winner. It was Sammy, and Sammy posted that the security guard warmest welcome in the morning is their spark. And for me, I just thought that that was great. Something very simple like that. So, Sammy, you will be receiving an email from us for the Caribou Coffee gift card. So with that, we had a lot of questions. So I am going to start sifting through them. And why don't we kick it off with one of the first ones? And it was, could you share specific examples of initiatives that have proven to be effective in fostering a sense of unity and collaboration between your frontline employees and higher level management?
Yeah, sure. As we talked about, everybody within our support center, our corporate headquarters, has a Beekeeper account. So that's been really important, is getting them engaged and onboarded to the platform. That's our managers, our directors, and as well as our CEO is there in Beekeeper. One of the most fun ways and thing that we see in terms of engagement is our CEO will post from his own account. He shares a mix of business and professional content. But for example, recently he went on a fishing trip and he actually shared his catch in Spark Stories. Anytime he does that, he receives the most number of comments, the most number of likes. Like, we cannot beat his content from a corporate communication standpoint. But we love when he does that because it's showing that, he is there on the platform, he's seeing what everybody's doing, and he's engaging. Sometimes he'll drop a comment or, a like onto people's posts, and it's a little bit of a starstruck moment, but that definitely shows that there's this unity between our field and our corporate teams. But we know that, not all executives operate in that way. And so for others, we found success with monthly recap posts or kind of thank you posts. We'll work directly with those executives and, gather what they kind of want to say, help finesse it, polish the content, and then publish it under their byline. So that is like another way to consider, just showing that unity, even if it's a little bit more of a scripted situation.
So here's another one that came in. How do you manage usage to avoid being consumed by the platform while on assignment? So essentially, so employees don't spend all of their shift time on the phone.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that.
Great.
One way we do this is just empowering our general managers to empower their shift leads to take 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of every shift to check Beekeeper for updates. And, there's not too much going out on the platform where things would be coming in during their shift, but usually our general managers are pretty keyed into that. So our more on the ground field team members will do a 5 to 10 minute check at the beginning and end of their shifts. And that's kind of how we combat that.
We also have a unique situation where there's a store computer in the back room of every one of our coffee houses. And for many of our coffee houses, this is where the general manager will kind of leave their Beekeeper login or Beekeeper instance logged in. And so instead of, looking at it maybe right on your phone on the floor, which is obviously against, policies and guest service standards, they can also go into that back room and they have a moment to kind of check and read through anything that they need to know to continue doing, their job.
So here's another one for the Caribou team. Is your creative in-house or do you use an agency? Just trying to understand if Beekeeper content created in-house or do you have an external support?
Right. And we do have an internal creative team that we're able to submit our requests for. So when we were building out our Beekeeper platform, we did have them create branded headers, profile pictures, and assist with the copywriting for all of our stream descriptions as well.
But we know their time is valuable. So I just wanted to re-hit on the fact that we use a lot of templates. So we're not asking always for a new creative asset with every single post or announcement. We're relying on those things that we're doing, day to day to be templated and standardized so that the content looks great, but it may be reused time and time again.
So another question, and I'm not entirely sure what the acronym is, but it says to ensure all CC employees aren't being overwhelmed with a barrage of corporate news and messages, do you have team/streams set up to encourage comms within a single store? So I'm guessing CC is Frontline or
It's probably Caribou Coffee.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So many acronyms. I understand it's hard to keep them all straight. But yeah, Ellie touched on that kind of at the end of our presentation. Each one of our stores has a store specific stream, which the permissions are set only for the general manager and team members at that location to see. We also have the next level up, which we consider our districts. And so those managers who are managing several general managers also have a stream. And then as well as we talked about kind of the mass corporate communication streams where we send out kind of broadcast messages. So a mix of both formal and informal communication across the platform to get people the information they need.
And one thing I'll add to that too is we really encourage and empower our team members to utilize those notification settings in a way that best fits their relationship with their technology. And our Spark Stories stream, we love to boast how engaging it is, but we are seeing dozens and dozens of posts come through that stream every single day. And if you have your notifications set to getting alerts for every time something is posted, it indeed can be overwhelming. So we really encourage them to turn on notifications for the streams that are most important to them.
So I think we've got time for one more question. And then there's a handful that we won't get to, but we will document those and answer them after. So the last one is, do your team members worry about privacy and security using Beekeeper?
We have made it very clear to them that we don't have visibility to group chats or one-on-one chats. We can only see what's published in the streams. So we do like to tout that as we're not spying on you. Go ahead and have your conversations, have your fun, have your inside jokes and things. And we're not, watching over the fence on those.
All right. So with that, just want to quickly close it out. We've had a great session today. So again, I just want to mention Lindsay and Ellie will be joining us in Nashville October 18th for the Frontline Success Summit. So if you want to network and talk with them about anything from today live, join us in Nashville on October 18th. And just wanted to close out everything that we talked about today. Beekeeper, as you heard through them, it's a workspace for your frontline employees that is built on 3 pillars of productivity, comms, and collaboration, and employee services. Again, you don't have to take what we say about it. You can take what Caribou Coffee says about it or any of the thousands of other customers that we have using the platform. I just wanted to say thank you, Bosley and Ellie, for joining us today. It is great to have customers be able to come on and chat. I have to say this is probably my favorite part of my job is getting to speak with customers. So it's great that you joined us. And Charlotte, thank you for being a great moderator as always. And to the audience, thank you for participating in Spark Stories and sticking around and learning how you can better support your frontline managers. And with that, I want to thank you all and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Bosley and Ellie.